Hey everybody, welcome here to day 5, our last official day of our 2022 Vision and Planning course. I hope that you have gotten a ton out of this experience and this process. And for those of you that have done the work, my goodness, you guys have gone a long way, have done a ton of work. For those of you that are still getting caught up, it's totally cool. Remember, slow is fast, fast is smooth, right? The fastest way to get somewhere is to slow down. You'll get there. Just keep the process. You know, for some, these areas are very easy, very, very quick. For others, different parts of it can be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more time consuming, depending on what the last few days have been. But I just want to congratulate you. You guys have done a fantastic job, really hard work. And I'm telling you, this, if you're not already feeling it, this is going to pay dividends as you keep walking through this process. And honestly, the more and more that you use this process and these skills that you've been learning, the easier this is going to get, the better you're going to get at it, and the more intuitive this is going to become. I can do these things without any prompts anymore. Obviously, we have the Carpe Meridian Planner that I use personally, obviously, and then many of my friends and family use, and many of my customers use, and clients. But the reality is, I can intuitively take a bullet journal and do this. Just writing it all down and creating it from scratch, because it's so ingrained into how I do things and how I think after years and years and years of putting this time leadership framework into practice. So keep going, don't stop. If you need more time, take more time. Go back through and clarify and make sure that you've got a solid vision and a solid plan for 2022 and really beyond there as well. What we're going to dive into today has a lot to do with rhythms of life, the circular rhythms of life, right? We just ended one cycle and are starting a new one for a new year. This is Q1, so we're ending Q4, we're starting quarter 1 of 2022. This is January, we just ended December, we're starting January 2022. This is the second or third week of, if I had my calendar in front of me, I'd know, but we're just ending Friday here, we're ending a week cycle here, right? And then the morning and the evening, right? We live in a constant state of cycling and movement and starts and stops to these cycles and these rhythms. And if we can pay attention to the rhythms, there's a great opportunity for us to be able to see, even within the most basic form of productivity, is just simply taking action. Taking action on a particular course is the basis of productivity, and there's ways to do that better and more efficiently, and great tools and tips and tricks and all these things, and we've talked about a few of them here over the course of the last 5 days. But the reality is that basic productivity is just taking action. It's getting things done. That's it. That's it. And there's a thought process or a methodology that I like to think of, and I've mentioned it a few times here already, called time leadership. Now, we've all heard of time management. That's something that's, their course, time management courses. But I thought about this was about 6-8 years ago, and I was thinking about this idea of management versus leadership. What's the difference between management and leadership? Now, truth be told, there's a big, I love having this discussion, but in my opinion, in order to be a great leader, you have to be a great manager, but you don't necessarily have to be a great leader you don't have to be a great leader in order to be a great manager. There are great managers that aren't leaders, but there are very few great leaders that aren't great managers. And so this automatic discussion for me was around time management versus time leadership. So let me dive into this just for a few moments. Time management is we manage the resource that we have been given. Now, there is an element to time management, I dig it, but let me shift your process a little bit. And I'm getting to this on day 5 intentionally. Because the reality of the situation is time leadership is what you've been doing. What does a leader do? A leader is out front. A leader shares the vision and says, we're going here and this is how we're going to get there. And then they manage the process on the way. Time leadership is getting a vision, getting a plan in place, and putting the resources together to make that plan, to make that vision a reality. And management is about, now that I have those resources, now I'm going to go about executing and taking action and getting things done. And so time leadership is what we've already done when we've got the vision. We've seen where we're really at. It takes a great leader to be able to go, okay guys, here's the truth. Here's the truth of where we're at. And there's some management aspects of that too. But that's a great leadership quality, a great leadership capability. It's the intentionality of the process is the time leadership. And so that's what you've been doing, is time leadership. And some of that's, we're bouncing in and out of management, but a lot of that is time leadership. And so that process goes all the way down from the yearly plan to quarterly, to monthly, to weekly, and then even down into the daily. Now, oftentimes, and I talked about this, I think, a couple days ago, where when you look at most planners, and obviously time leadership is built in and baked in to the Carpe More Diem 90-day planner, but when you look at a lot of planners, they either have a lot of the fluff and the reflection and things like that, or they're really high on planning tools and action tools. And so the Carpe More Diem planner and this time leadership framework is really plan, act, reflect. Plan it out, take action upon it, and then reflect. I tend to do less reflection daily and more reflection weekly and quarterly and then yearly. Because that's just the way that I've been able to process. But it's not wrong to take the action and do some reflection daily. And actually I do a little bit of reflection daily, but it's a little bit different than what some other planners might have at the end of the daily section, the notes section, or whatever that is. Hey, what was good about today, things like that. That's not part of my methodology. It's not part of the time leadership framework. But weekly reflection and quarterly reflection and then yearly reflection is part of that. So what are we going to talk about then in day 5? What is so important about this reflection piece, and really the plan, take action, and then reflect, the PAR, the PAR. This is our morning and evening rituals, or our morning and evening routines. That's what we're going to get into tonight. Today is talking about morning and evening routines. Sometimes people call them rituals. I call them a routine, and that's what we're going to dive into when we dive into the workbook. I'll catch you there. All right. Day 5 in the workbook. I hope that you are excited. You've done a lot of great work. I want to commend you again. A lot of great work that you've done. And we're at our final area. And that comes down to routines. Some people call them rituals, but I call them routines. And this is your daily and morning and evening routines. Now, like I said in the talky talk part of the video, this is all about the cycles, right? We are beginning a yearly cycle. 2021 ended, 2022 begins. Guess what? In another 12 months, 2022 is going to end, and we're going to start the cycle all over again. Every single quarter, right? Every 4 months, we have quarters. If you're in a business that utilizes quarters, or a school that utilizes quarters, or maybe even trimesters, or whatever that is a cycle. Months are a cycle. Weeks are a cycle. Days are a cycle. Even within days, we've got morning and evening. Those are 2 different cycles. You've got hours within that are cycles, and minutes and seconds and all that. Everything is a cycle of ending and beginning, of beginning and ending. And by far,
why I'm narrowing it down to, I could be talking about a bunch of different things, but why am I narrowing it down to your daily routines, of your morning routine and evening routine? Because the way that you start the day really is going to create the atmosphere and the space for your entire day. Right? How many of us have had this happen? We start the day, the alarm clock goes off, we hit snooze like 17 times, we wake up in just enough time to take a quick shower, throw our clothes on, get in the car, drive to the office. We're there just in time for that meeting, no coffee, no nothing, and we're scrambling the rest of the day until we have that 15-minute break that tends to get, taken up by so-and-so coming in and asking a question about this, that, and the other thing, and fires and all this other, like we're just on our heels the whole day. And for many of us, that literally is our life. Or maybe you are super disciplined, you wake up early, everything's awesome, and you grab that coffee you go to Starbucks, you get that coffee that's full of sugar, and you get that donut or whatever it is that's again full of sugar, and you're all pumped and jazzed for the first couple hours of the day, and then all of a sudden about 10, 11 o'clock, bam, you're crashing and you're burning. And what do? You go get more coffee, you get some soda, you go, if you're like me down here in Silicon Valley, they snack the ever-loving tar out of us, so we go and get, chips or chocolate or whatever it is, right? It's nuts. But if you sit down and you're intentional, remember I talked about time leadership, you're intentional about leading your time and what you're going to do and creating that space and that atmosphere where you're setting yourself up for success. And honestly, we should start with the evening routine and go to the morning routine, because setting up your success in the evening will help you get better rest, help you get to sleep faster, you'll have deeper sleep, more recovery, and that way you can wake up in the morning and have that routine. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, and guys, we are creatures of habit. Every one of you has a daily routine. Every one of you has a morning routine. Every one of you has an evening routine. I guarantee it. You do it all the time. Okay? So this isn't going to be a very difficult exercise. I want you to think about this morning. What was the first thing you did? Second thing you did, third thing you did, fourth thing you did. Write down what you did before you headed out to engage anybody outside of the home, right? Or if you work inside of the home, you started your day officially, your work day or whatever that is. What was the activity and how long did that take? Now, what you might want to do is maybe tomorrow, jot some things down. And again, you're using pencil, so maybe tomorrow you write these things down. Today you write them down, and then tomorrow you kind of time yourself and see how long this takes. And then do the same thing for the evening, right? So you wake up, hit the snooze bar a couple times. That's part of a routine. You take a shower, you get dressed, you go downstairs, you make your coffee. You take the coffee, you go down, let the dogs out. The dogs are out. You put the food in the bowls for the dogs. You bring the dogs back in. They get done eating. You put the dogs back out. By that time that they've eaten, you've maybe done some reading, right? Whatever that may be. Okay, I could go on. Some of that's my own morning routine, which is insane. But what are you doing currently? And then do the same thing for your evening routine. Now, when does an evening routine begin? It begins when you're starting to get ready to go to bed. Okay? When the day ends, that's your evening routine. Okay? So maybe it's tucking the kids in bed, because typically the kids go to bed before we do. Tucking the kids in bed. Maybe it's praying with them. Maybe it's reading them a story. Maybe it's taking a shower. Maybe it's getting the coffee pot ready. Again, I want you to do an inventory of your evening routine. And then simply just sit with this question. Does my morning routine and evening routine set me up for success? Does it set me up for success? Now, shameless plug. My intention was not to do this here right now, but it came to my mind, and so I'm gonna talk about it later on this month. Towards the end of January, I am going to be doing a webinar on a Saturday morning. I think it's the last day of January. It's in my schedule on routines. on rituals, daily routines and rituals. And so I'll be spending some time teaching on about an hour and a half of teaching and some things. So you're getting a little bit of a head start on this, but shameless plug. Again, I'll send emails around it, and obviously some posts and things like that, so that you can have access to that if you want to join me. It'll be live, so you'll be able to ask me Q&A and all that good stuff. But I want you to do an inventory. What are your morning? What are your evening? Is it working for you? And then look at what you could change. What could you do that would give you more energy in the morning, that would set you up for greater success, that would put you on the path to be able to get greater rest in the evening or have an impact? Again, go back and look at your vision. Go back and look at your doing and being goals. Go back and look at your habit and accomplishment goals and go, what can I do in the morning and in the evening to set myself up to have success in those areas, or to be that particular person, right? If one of my being goals was to be a more loving husband, then maybe greeting my wife in the morning with a kiss and saying I love you every morning is that, right? Or maybe it is, since she wakes up a little later than I do, maybe it's I send her a little video text message that's ready for her when she gets up in the morning and checks her text messages, right? Whatever that may be. Again, it's up to you. Obviously, I have some opinions around it, but I'm going to leave the opinions till the webinar, because I really want you to sit with this, and I want you to spend time going, what is it that can help me be more effective here? Okay? So that is your daily routines, morning and evening routines. Again, look at what you're currently doing. How much time is that taking? What's working? What's not working? Bring over what's working, change what's not working, and try it out.